So, Colin, I mean, the words sound pretty serious here. You say you found inconsistent gaps and flushes throughout the car, missing bolts, loose tolerance, uneven and misaligned spot welds. It sounds kind of alarming. Give us some more detail on what you found.
Yeah, sure. I mean, to be honest, we actually have a department called the UBS Evidence Lab. They actually went out and hired a team of engineers. So I'm not a professional engineer. I'm a finance guy. They're the ones who identified all these issues. They spent about 4 months actually looking through the car. Those were actually just a handful of issues with the vehicle. Obviously, it's very concerning. I mean, when we're talking about, the fitness audit, that's a procedure they do for all the vehicles that they tear down, and that's their expertise. And this was larger gaps than you would expect. Particularly for a luxury vehicle. We'll see if the company is able to fix those, but from the expert conversations that we had with other manufacturing people, it could clearly be challenging to get those gaps narrowed without doing more aesthetic fixes. To really get to the underlying cause of the problem actually could take a long period of time, and that's why we remain very cautious on the stock, and we thought that the teardown quality issues were a bit alarming.
UBS has called this borderline acceptable. David, how unusual is this for a luxury car that's already on the market?
In this day and age, it's pretty unusual. See, the big car companies can basically build a vehicle out of muscle memory. They engineer it and it rolls out. Sometimes you do have quality issues, and keep in mind we've had some pretty big gaffes, major recalls from General Motors, from Toyota in recent years. But generally, when they launch a car, you don't have big gaps. You don't have issues like this. There was another company, Monroe & Associates, that had torn a Model 3 down a few months ago, and they found a lot of the same things with the car that they bought. Welding points that weren't aligned, big gaps in the sheet metal. And here's the thing, this won't bother the first buyers, the true believers, the Tesla lovers who put $1,000 down. But once those people get their cars and Musk starts to try to sell into the general public, the luxury buyer, those people are going to be more discerning, and they can go buy other vehicles, especially in the next couple of years as the German luxury makers come out with more electric cars.
Now, Colin, your team has been talking to experts, former Tesla employees, for example, about how these could possibly be fixed, these issues. What are they telling you?
Yeah, I mean, what they've said is that aesthetically you could fix it with fillers. That actually doesn't really get to the root cause of the problem. So I'm guessing that the vehicles coming off the line probably are looking a bit better. I think our experts have kind of sort of spot checked that as well. But I mean, I think to get to the real underlying, the reason gaps are an issue is because of sort of the corrosion risk, the wear. It also speaks to the quality of manufacturing. To get to the core of the issue is quite complicated. It's possible Tesla was able to do that, but most of them think it's fairly unlikely in the short period of time they're able to really get to the true underlying cause of the problems.
Has Tesla or Elon Musk responded to you?
Not specifically to the report today, but they have talked about in the past that the initial models had quality issues, which is why we're proactive about talking to experts about how easy they are to address. They have said that the quality is on level with the S and X. I mean, I'm a bit skeptical given the nature of the issues we saw in our teardown vehicle.
Well, you never know when you're going to get a specific response from Elon Musk, especially on Twitter. David, put this into context of, the broader issues at play here. We're in the middle of him trying to take this company private. There are issues around production and production targets, which have become even more ambitious.
Yeah, this has been the biggest problem for Tesla, really. And if you sort of look at the big picture, Elon Musk is frustrated with being a public company, and he hates short sellers. He doesn't even like the retail seller who's in and out of the stock. He wants people who are in for the long game. But the entire reason he's had this frustration is because they haven't gotten manufacturing ironed out. And it's everything. It's the constant delays with getting up to 5,000 cars a week. It's pushing those targets out. And now, even with the cars that are being produced, you do have some of these, let's call them fit and finish issues, but they are things that luxury buyers will really zero in on. And it shows you that whether it's the rate of production or it's the actual quality of the build, they're just not there, and they don't have the expertise that the major car makers have.
Are there safety issues here, Colin?
There were a couple points that did raise some safety concerns, things about exiting the back seat if the 12-volt battery kicks out. I mean, nothing that was overly alarming, but there were some minor issues that they identified.
Now, UBS has a sell rating on Tesla. I mean, how has that changed since this controversy over going private, staying public broke out?
Our view hasn't changed. I mean, I think we're a bit cautious on the nature of the tweet, given that there's certain Reg FD rules. I think it's also going to be very challenging to go private, given they're going to need to probably raise, given the debt would probably come due. You'd have almost 80 to 90 billion that need to be funded to go private. So I do think there's going to be challenging doing a deal that size. So we think there's I think obviously the market doesn't seem to price in that the deal is going to get done because we're pretty far from the 420 going private target. So we're just as skeptical, I suppose, as the market.